All right. Okay, to get started. Happy New Year, everybody. It is 6 o'clock, January 6th, 2026. I call this regular meeting of the Montgomery, City of Montgomery Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Our first order of business is the pledges to the flag. So, United States of America. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas. Honoring the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Let's see. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak during the open comment section? Is there anyone? No? Okay. Then we will move on to item number 3, which is consideration and possible action on P&Z regular meeting minutes of December 2nd, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the meetings from the P&Z regular meeting of December 2nd, 2025.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 4, discussion on findings of the utility and economical feasibility study on Krawfish Kai development number 2509.
Good evening, Commission. So today in front of you, you have the feasibility study for the Krawfish Kai development. I'm just going to walk you through some of our findings for this development. Just as a reminder, this has already been presented to council. They already took action on it. There is no action required from y'all tonight. It's just for discussion purposes. If y'all ask questions, we can provide clarity. So this development is Krawfish Kai, currently located on 149. The developer for this property is Grace Point Homes. I would like to direct you to page 15 of your report, or page 16, actually would be a better, larger area view of where the property is being located. The property right behind Jim's Hardware, which is going to be New City Hall. If you remember, some of y'all remember, this property was previously looked at as the Moon over Montgomery development. With that development, they were looking to propose short-term rentals for lake cabins, Airbnb style, for retreats and whatnot. They've come back for this proposed development of Krawfish Kai. So kind of just want to hit the high points of this feasibility. The property is currently zoned R1 single family, so there are 2 different options that they can run through here in order to continue with their proposed commercial development. As the previous development obtained a special use permit for the short-term rentals, they would be allowed to do the same thing for the commercial tenant that they're looking to have, because they don't know what will be the future development of this should Krawfish Kai not renew at least 1 year. So instead of going through the full rezoning process, they can just be issued a special use permit for the Krawfish Kai development, and then that will terminate once that particular phase of commercial development ceases to exist. So they could go through that or rezone completely to be commercial. Either option is viable. It would be up to the developer to decide which one they want to go for. And then kind of going back to some of our exhibits, jumping to page 17 and 18, kind of wanted to talk about water and wastewater capacity. So So as far as this particular development, it doesn't move the needle all that much. Proposed average daily flow for water is 7,000 and wastewater is around 4,500. Again, in terms of the overall city capacity, it doesn't move the needle very much, but as y'all are very aware, the city is receiving a lot of development. So we're monitoring that constantly and updating our projections to kind of match and be conservative as we plan for the future for the city. So on page 17 of your report, it shows our existing wastewater or water capacity, excuse me. The blue linear line represents our capacity, and then the curvatures represent different scenarios in which the city is looking. And so everything or in the solid orange line is our historical data from operator reports, and then everything after that is a projection as to what could be based on developments that we're currently working through as far as that are in design, developments that have executed development agreements or escrow agreements, or things that we know are just coming in the future that have no actual timeline but could become tomorrow if we got an email or call about proposed development. And so these projections are designed to be conservative by nature, making sure that we're over designing and making sure that we have enough capacity for any event within the future. And so as you kind of see, there are some areas in which capacity looks like it is close. It is close, and we're going through the proper moving steps and making sure that we have capacity in the future. Currently, we are in construction for Water Plant 3 booster pump addition, which would add around 130,000 gallons per day of additional flow, and then we're currently in design for Water Plant 4, which will be going on the Briarley development on the west side of town. With these two proposed improvements in the very near future, we will have capacity for all of our current developments up until the late 2020s and early 2030s. And going down to wastewater on page 18, very similar story. With all the development going on, we are very close on capacity, but we are making sure that we're being proactive. And as of today, we're actually in 60% review of the Town Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant Phase 1 expansion project with half engineering. And then with additional options of either building out Town Creek for a full capacity of 0.6, or building out Stewart Creek, which is on 105 on the east side of town, close to Chick-fil-A, building that out to full plant capacity, which would be 0.8. So depending on where development is within the city, if we're seeing more development on the southeast side of the city, we would vote to upgrade Stewart Creek. If we're seeing it elsewhere in the city, we would vote to upgrade Town Creek. It kind of depends on how development plays out in the future. As far as other requirements for this development, they would be subject to impact fees because the property is already platted. As of 2021, they would be subject to the platted or impact fees at that time. And so those are outlined as proposed with one connection, a 2-inch connection, $12,755 for water and $28,471 for wastewater. As far as traffic goes, we would be requiring them to install sidewalks to increase connectivity to the overall downtown of the city. We're trying to make sure that we're requesting that from developers as they come in. And then as far as drainage goes, they are proposing a private pond within their development. We would be requiring them to submit plans, specifications, and a drainage study confirming that there is no detrimental impact to neighboring or adjacent property tracts.
Have you actually walked this project and taken a look at it?
Yes, sir. So understanding that there is a significant drop from Crawfish Street down back towards Berkeley.
You do realize that the first house behind the hardware store happens to be my son's in-law's house. Mm-hmm. And the next house to the east, I know those folks too. We've been drowning them ever since they occupied, not my son-in-law, he didn't live there, he bought a house, but they've been drowning these two people off this track ever since these houses were built. One of those areas where, when we look at these plats, we should be looking at receiving water as well as getting rid of water. And there was no arrangement made here at all. There's 2 deep ravines in both these yards.
Yes, sir.
Back to the special use permit for a minute. I understand that Jacobs was going to, he was approaching his project as sort of temporary. These were little cottages he was going to place in there, see how it was going to work and not. And the special use permit was to get him through to the first year. And his plan was, if it didn't work, he's going to move back out, which I can understand, special use permit there. But to put a permanent building on this, I would certainly advocate that it be either rezoned or left alone, one of the two.
I agree with you, John.
I agree.
Yeah, that with Jacobs, that was, we gave him that special use like you were saying, just to try that out.
Right.
And if it didn't work, he was going to pull the cabins off and then re-go. But to give a special use permit to a commercial structure, I just can't. I mean, you're saying the council's already made?
On the feasibility study, they haven't made any action regarding the development.
Like, me personally, I cannot see giving a special use permit to a permanent structure. If Kaya goes out of business, then we have to, go do this again with either another permit or the other route with the rezoning. But in my personal opinion, I think the special use permit is a non-factor. I don't know about y'all, but that's how I feel.
Can we send that to the city council so that they know what we're saying?
Yes.
Give them that feedback?
Yeah, we can, and we will relay that information to the developer as well.
And then we want feedback as to what they say about that, because that is, we did that for just Jacobs asking for the temporary, just in case it didn't work out. Now we're talking commercial and.
Yeah, the roads through there.
Yeah.
I don't see how that's going to handle commercial.
That's the next question. Clipper has been a problem for a long, long time. Some of that blacktop has got to be 2 and 3 foot thick. All we keep doing is patching it, and it's never fixed right. But if you would cut in there and try to cut a driveway or something, you will have one hell of a surprise. Yeah,
we are keenly aware of the roadway conditions overall in the city and Klepper as well. There's a significant developments going on around Klepper, just east on CV Store, the DCS development and the Church of Montgomery. So we are monitoring that closely.
It's breaking off again right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just concerned with the safety with the people walking. We're getting more and more families and foot traffic up and down through the city. And the width of the road and the speed that some of the cars are going down through there is something, hopefully that doesn't, but something is going to happen here, my feeling. So actually, safety is my concern because we walking up and down that road all the time. And it's, we do use the sidewalks.
A sidewalk there would be nice. I appreciate at least recommending that.
But it'd only be in front of their property.
Just in their property,
Yeah,
which gets you
a little bit.
Right, close. So we have
but then you get into residential where you can't enforce it.
Yeah.
right, and then further down Klepper, we have sidewalks on the south side, and then on the north side, which would be installed adjacent to the Church of Montgomery development, and then DCS as well will be required to install sidewalks on the eastern portion of CV Stewart, their western boundary. So yeah, in trying to increase connectivity throughout the city, piecemealing it as we get developments coming in is the best way to make sure the city isn't fronting costs for these.
I understand even in your report here, you're stating that they can't make a turn into that area because of the radius that's required and so on and so forth.
Correct.
So, you know, we're just, this is a non-issue. You can't even, we don't even know how we're gonna be able to drive and get into it.
So particularly regarding that, and as you brought that up, they would be required, based on the configuration of the existing driveways within the area in our current city ordinances, there's no way for them to configure a driveway to make the required spacing, radiuses, and distances between existing driveways and streets. So they would have to request a variance for that as well. Chapter 78, so that would be coming back, if they were to continue with this development, coming back to P&Z for recommendation to council.
There again, you're just increasing the density. You know there's an issue. Why make another issue on top of it? Let's, you know, we need to start doing things correctly instead of adjusting to it in a way that just increases the density in an occasion like this.
Yes.
If they already know they're gonna ask for a variance and there's already an issue, like, why? They're gonna come back to us and we're gonna say the same thing. We're gonna say, like, it's not gonna work. So you wanna take away from someone else or take away from something, you know, we're constantly being asked to reduce, so they can have bigger, and bigger. And the variance, they already know that they're asking for a variance, so they need to work around it before they even get to that point. Like John said, do it right the first time so they don't have to come back to us.
Any additional questions or comments?
You mentioned something about ravines in those properties over there.
Existing, yes, ma'am.
They're natural, right? That's that nexus. So what would they do about those ravines?
That would be on their engineer
Okay.
to kind of design around, make sure grades work across the site. As I said before, it does drop significantly from Klepper
Yes.
back to Berkeley. And so however they're proposing to do that.
And it comes to you before they do all that?
Yes.
Okay.
Before anything's constructed or inspected.
And you bring it back to us and you explain to us what they think they're going to do to make the water flow in and flow out correctly?
So plans and specifications for approval do not have to come back to P&Z or council for commercial development. This was a single family development for a subdivision, say Briarley or Legacy Grove with Tri-Point, you would have to come back for approval, but these commercial plans do not require additional P&Z or council approval.
So,
Per ordinance.
so there's no, who is going to regulate their drainage?
So they're required to design per county requirements, as the city of Montgomery does not have their own standard and we default to the county. The county actually just recently updated their drainage criteria back in August of 2025. So very new and updated information and requirements for all developments, commercial, residential, et cetera. And those are reviewed.
That's a problem with me because I know the people on the east side of Buffalo Springs, unintentionally, the people that built that house back in there, I mean, they were flooded 3 or 4 times before anything was corrected. And luckily, those residents were, handled it. And leaving something like that, especially with not only going to affect John's son-in-law, but the people next door, all the way down the line.
Which is why they're required to submit that drainage study.
May I make another statement? They moved into this house, for one, about 4 or 5 doors up Berkeley to the east. Same problem. The reason they moved out of that house, because the sheet flow coming off those areas south of Berkeley, the developer never provided for any kind of uphill drainage concerns. He just went out there and cut lots into an embankment and left it to all drain into those backyards.
Unrelated to this, we are aware and we're working with Public Works to address that issue. Along Anna Springs, they're doing ditch regrading.
They should have had an interceptor ditch in there and some easements directed out to Berkeley from that interceptor ditch to deal with the water instead of putting it in the neighbor's backyard.
Understand, yes, sir. no further questions.
I'm good.
So the next process, city council will get our information we talked about tonight, and then then the developer will decide what he's wanting to do.
We've already sent a request for escrow deposit to move forward with the next steps, simple plan review, developer coordination, et cetera. And as of late last year, around the holiday season, we haven't heard anything. As of today, we still haven't heard anything. They've been abnormally silent as far as developments go. Now, usually when we get feasibility approved by council, they're itching and gearing up to go. So they may have foregone or are foregoing the development, but again, we'll keep y'all updated as we go.
I just want to be put on record that it's my personal feeling that a commercial property rezoned into a residential neighborhood is something I don't agree with. So I'd like to be put that on record.
I agree too. Especially if they already know they're gonna ask to change something.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there's no motion, this is just discussion only. So is that it? That's all you have, is that, or you have?
The next few items.
Oh, you do have?
Yeah.
On the same subject then?
No, different items.
Okay.
Items 2 through 8.
All you, okay. All righty, so we are on, that was 4, correct?
Yes, sir.
Item number 5, discussion on the findings of the utility economic feasibility study for SR 105 LLC, Montgomery Retail Development, 2507.
Thank you, Commission. So very similar, economic feasibility study for a proposed commercial development. This is if you're familiar with HEB tract, HEB is developing one portion of the tract. This is their partner developer. So if you look on page 43, you'll kind of see the outline of what's included within this particular development. Spare y'all some of the details of what I've already discussed as far as city issues, water capacity, wastewater capacity. I'll go into the specifics of this particular development. So if you scroll to page 56, you'll see kind of their preliminary site plan. What this development is proposing is large box retail, potentially fast food, or not fast food, sit-down restaurant, dining, and quick service restaurants and stores. And then on the hard corner of 2854 and 105, they're proposing a bank. This is all fine within the commercial zone that they are currently zoned as. So just kind of moving forward with that. The development is projected to be using, approximately 21,000 gallons of water and then approximately 17,000 gallons of sanitary sewer a day. 13,000 gallons of sanitary sewer a day at full build out. As far as utility connections go, HEB was required as a part of their development to extend water and sanitary sewer along their frontage, as you'll see on Exhibit D, page 58. So this developer would be required to extend utilities past or to their eastern boundary. For sanitary sewer, it would stop essentially at Stewart Creek. For water, it would stop at Stewart Creek and then cross 105 to create a water line loop, which would help with pressure issues on the east side of town and removing some of these dead ends that we have within the city. Project would and development would be subject to impact fees based on their current layout, assuming 6 2-inch taps. This is subject to change, but based on their preliminary land plan, this looks like it would be sufficient. They would be paying $398,916 in water impact fees, and then $309,606 in wastewater fees. So pretty big thing for all the proposed development that they're looking to do.
How long is that going to take? How long is that 300,000? Is it all up front?
Yes, it will be due, assessed at the time, assessed and due at the time of plat. So as soon as they're ready to get their final plat approved, we in the city would issue out impact fee deposit request for that total of $780,000. As far as drainage goes, so if you remember, HEB was actually responsible for the mass grading and detention for the entire 32-acre site. So they being SR 105, would just have to follow the previously approved drainage plans for this overall site. So as long as they're within the confines of what their impervious cover is and what their off-site sheet flow would be, they would be fine to construct. As far as transportation goes, directing back to page 56, they are proposing one connection to State Highway 105. This is all that we've seen based off of their latest land plan, but again, would be subject to change, and then all connections to TxDOT, we would require them to provide us with TxDOT approval for a set connection.
Potential lights?
So none with this site,
Okay.
with the hard corner State Highway 105 and 2854 being signalized, we're not expecting anything. But again, HEB was required to submit TIA for their site, which included portions of the adjacent developments, which we're discussing now with this property. They weren't required to install a light at that time. I'm not expecting one now, but TxDOT is kind of against what they want and where they want it.
So the entire drainage of both tracks goes, crosses under the highway and goes in between the car wash and the pizza shack, and goes to is it going to drain into the lake?
Portions of it, yes, sir. So the west side of the property would actually outfall to TxDOT, 2854, and then portions would outfall to, as you said, Stewart Creek, and ultimately up to Lake Kammerer.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is quick service restaurants?
Fast foods, typically. So McDonald's, Taco Bell. I don't know if it's on Taco Bell. Taco Bell would be another one, but essentially anything with a drive-through. Quick service restaurant.
So they're asking for a variance on just?
So as a separate agenda item, yes.
Or is that?
Yes, separate from this, correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I want that.
Yeah.
I was not here at the time. Is this on the original plans and the layout and the approval, or was it just HEB and this is now on the second?
So HEB had their own feasibility study, which kind of blocked out areas of the SR 105 development, but this is the most detailed version of the SR 105 development that we have today. So they knew that they were coming in the future. The general layout wasn't hashed out yet.
That's the gas station on the corner, right? They're gonna put the HEB gas station there?
No, so if you
This
look
is
at
a different one, okay.
different, yeah. So if
Okay.
you look at page 56,
Yeah.
you'll see next to the bank
Yes.
on the left-hand side, that is where the fuel station will go for HEB.
So, once this is starting to develop, then all four of those quick service restaurants up front will need a special permit for a drive-through.
If they are intended to be drive-through services, yes.
Okay.
They could be anything, just as they're outlined now.
That's just what they have it marked.
Exactly.
I know it's probably in our development standards, but why do we keep doing that? I mean, the building's not going anywhere. Why do we want to make work to have to come back next year, issue another permit?
So we are, unrelated to this, reviewing the Code of Ordinances with KKC, the city's consultant on drafting said ordinances. That has come up some, and it is being worked through along with city staff. As far as the general process of how that should be done, whether or not they receive a special use permit or whether or not we expand the definitions of what would be a special use permit if it's zone commercial. McDonald's shouldn't need a fast food or.
What would be the advantage of having a special use permit?
Yeah.
I think it was more to control city streets than, you know, projects out on the highway like this, you know, that gave the city the opportunity to say something if they put a drive-through on a city street.
Isn't that what's on that corner?
Which corner?
That pink one?
2854?
Yeah.
So, no, with this particular development, they're only proposing the one unit. The bank would have to actually drive out of their site and then into the HEB site, which that's the driveway that you're referring to. HEB's conducting and constructing that proposed driveway. So HEB would have 2 or 3 actually driveways on 2054 and then one on 105, and then SR 105 would have 1 driveway on 105. Everything else would have to be done through shared access easements between the property owners, allowing for bank users and quick service users to use.
How many did you say on 2854?
3
Okay.
total.
I wanted to make sure you said that, okay.
Right now, there is a construction entrance
Yes, sir.
closer to 105.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, that's gonna be so congested. Right, oh my gosh. That one in,
HEB is adding turn lanes on 105 and 2054 to help assist with that as required by
oh, that's
text.
so nice to bring some more lanes in, some more concrete.
But we do understand y'all's concern with congestion in this area. It will be a very busy intersection, even busier than.
And there's nothing we can do about it. Can't push that up some or make them go a different way or?
Spacing, as far as what TxDOT approved is fine. And they're meeting all of our spacing requirements for driveways.
Any other discussion? Yep. Good on number 5.
I know we've talked about the capacity, water capacity. Just the way this chart reads right now, as we enter 2026, it reads as if we're already above our current capacity. I just want to be clear.
That we're not. Yes, sir. So we are not above our current capacity. Again, what we're looking at currently as far as historical usage is historical average daily flow within the city over the past 12 months. And so if we have a dry a few months within the last 12-month cycle, that'll bring it down. If we have a wet few months within the last 12 months, that'll drop it up. But generally speaking, we're well within sewer plant and water plant capacity.
So it's more of a means of updating at some point the historical data.
Yes, so at the time of this development, or feasibility studies, all 3 of these actually, we hadn't had the final quarter of 2025. So if you notice, that's exactly. So we'll be able to update that with our next feasibility study and give y'all updated numbers. And again, looking at our projections, update those as well. We get constant information from developers as to pushing things back, pushing things up, building more lots, building fewer lots, etc. So this is these 2 exhibits are ever changing.
I agree. I just want to be clear.
Yes, sir.
That's all I had.
Okay. Is that it for you, Zach? I'm aiming for 5.
Oh, yes, for five, yes, sir.
Okay, go on, we're moving on to 6, discussion on the findings on feasibility study summary memo on the Montgomery Flex Business Center development, development number 2508.
Thank you, Commissioner. Again, so kind of just trying to hit the high points for this. If you scroll to page 69 of your report, you'll see a preliminary site plan for the proposed development. What this is intended to be is warehouses for potential tenants. Based on our information from the developer, these tenants could include home services, e-commerce fulfillment centers, distribution centers, CrossFit style gyms, pool cleaning, etc. They haven't hammered out who this intended commercial, or not commercial, who this intended tenant list is. We actually have requested that from the developer, and they should be following up with that list, just so we have a better idea as to what could be going in this, within these 3 buildings. Property is currently zoned, if you scroll to the next page, page 70, plan development, which is why we're asking for those proposed tenants. Within this plan development, this particular parcel is allowed for mixed use, which will allow for commercial, multifamily, a few other entities. But as far as the city's concerned, having a better idea as to who these potential tenants would be is something that we will want to see on the front end prior to, accepting or approving any potential plans.
What is the total acreage or footage or size?
The tract?
Mm-hmm.
It is a 2.73 acre tract. So relatively small, average size for your typical commercial, but again, making sure that we have all the information that we can get on the front end, so we're making better decisions when we're reviewing. As far as this development goes, the developer would only be responsible for the construction of the shell buildings. So once they find their potential tenants, the tenants would have to submit plans to the building plan reviewer, Rick Hanna, and if they're making any potential adjustments or modifications to the site civil, i.e. installing a fire line, rerouting water line, etc., they would have to come back to us for review and approval as well. As far as drainage goes, so if you go back to their proposed site plan, they do have a proposed private detention pond on their rear property line. This would, a very similar situation, have to get reviewed and approved from WJ, city engineer, and we will be adhering to all Montgomery County drainage criteria requirements. As far as access and transportation goes, they were not proposing any additional connections to State Highway, FM 1097. They would actually be using an existing driveway on the adjacent property via a shared access easement to minimize the connections to the textile road. All that we would require from them on this is that they provide us with the approval and shared easement, just so we have that papered up and documented for historical record. As far as everything else goes, this property would also be subject to impact fees, assuming that they have 3 different meters for each building. This would amount to $91,629 for a water impact fee based on today's impact fee schedule, and then a $71,115 wastewater impact fee, which would be due and assessed at the time of plat. On this one, outlining the next steps for this particular development, because it was so small, going through a full feasibility study we didn't feel like was warranted, but we did outline them with proposed next steps, which would be funding their escrow agreement to continue discussions, plan review, developer coordination, and submitting any potential agenda items as far as, or which could be any required easements or variances for the development, submitting the plat for and plans for review and approval, and then getting building plans reviewed and approved, and then beginning construction. questions?
Everyone good on 6? Okay. Move to item 7, consideration and possible action on a variance request regarding required landscaping requirements for the Church of Montgomery development, number 2501.
Evening again, Commission. So this in front of you today is a variance request from the Church of Montgomery. This is the church located, or that will be located, at the northwest corner of C.B. Stewart and Clever, within the Buffalo Springs subdivision. So what the developers are asking is a variance from the landscaping requirements from the Code of Ordinances. And your Code of Ordinances outline that a property must meet the minimum tree canopy requirement of this section, where if the tree canopy being preserved is not sufficient enough, they would be required to plant additional trees, and separate the canopy requirement being of the total gross property area versus the individual development. So if you look at page 81, you'll see their site plan. As you can see, the development at full build out, and just for clarification, this is being phased. There are proposed future phases of this development, but as it currently stands, only 4 of the 14 acres are being developed for this church. And so they're asking that the requirements on landscaping and canopy be restricted to the area that they're developing and not the entire property.
Will they touch anything on the other 10 acres? Like if they're just developing the 4, are they going to mess with the other 10?
No. So
okay.
We are, and as a part of that requirement, making sure that even staging happens within the 4 acres of their actual work site and not anything else off site.
As of right now, there is a large buffer zone. There was no trees there before, and they have a landscaping plan that fits the area.
Just to note, the landscaping plan that's currently in y'all's packet has not been approved. So they're still going through the review process, which is why they're requesting the variance.
Does this have the irrigation in it also? Is this?
They will have irrigation for their landscaping, yes, sir.
Do we do 2-inch or 3-inch trees? What is the inch? What's the size of the trees that we ask them to supply, or do they have a
They
requirement?
have a choice based on the type of tree species. There's a specific caliber inch requirement or credit that's given for that. So depending upon what trees they plant is determining how much credit they'll get for a canopy. So larger canopy or larger tree, larger canopy, more credit essentially. Less trees have to be planted. Smaller trees, less credit, more trees have to be planted.
They've got a lot of 4-inch.
Sorry, what was that?
They're including 42 4-inch caliper, at least for this plan. But I know this isn't the final.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say?
Yeah, 42 4-inch.
Okay, 4-inch.
Within this current iteration of the plan set. Yeah, on this sheet, they're proposing 42 trees, which would receive credit of $800 square feet per tree. So, math on that, they are providing a significant amount. 33,000 square feet are credit for landscaping and canopy.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval for the variances related to section 78167. One caveat that this all be applied to the initial 4-acre development.
I second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for the variance request for landscaping requirements for the Church of Montgomery development 2501 as stated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. Okay. Item number 8. Consideration and possible action on a variance request regarding the required utility easement, vegetation setback, and the allowance for retaining walls and utilities within the vegetation setback for the Montgomery Retail development number 2402.
Quick fix on that, the development number is actually 2506, typo on that development number. 2404 is actually HB, which related to SR 105.
Okay, so correct that to 2406.
2506.
2506.
Thank you. In y'all's packet, y'all do have this item. There's a more updated version that's been handed out, paper copy. Again, it's kind of just walking through what their request and ask is. So what they're proposing, or requesting rather, is a variance from the requirement to provide a utility easement along the front of their property. It's very standard practice that every development provides utility easements being placed along their frontage to allow for utilities to be placed there. They're asking that this be waived and there be no utility easement within their building or within their property along the frontage adjacent to TxDOT, and then asking for a minimum landscaping setback be reduced from 25 feet to 20 feet along their rear. That would be consistent with HEB, and then allowing construction, the construction of utilities and retaining walls within said vegetative setback. These three variances and requests from ordinance are in line and consistent with what HEB requested 2 months ago. If y'all remember, if you look at the exhibits, actually not, the exhibit from WGA kind of outlining where those proposed utilities would go. If you remember on the feasibility study, we had the utilities being proposed in the development as would be required pre-variance. This would show what the extension of those utilities would like if the variance would bring this time. So kind of showing where the existing pavement is, and if TxDOT in the future were to request, expand this roadway, we would have approximately 37 feet from the edge of existing pavement to work with. So if they're adding line or lanes, sidewalks, etc., within that 37 feet is where there would be no conflict. Anything past 37 feet would be a conflict by the time it reaches the end of that line. Which is why we request utility easements on developments.
What's the benefit to no utility easement along Highway 105 frontage?
It allows them to extend some of, or not account for space that would be dedicated to utilities to be used for retaining walls, for example. On HEB's plan, I think it's shown here. They show existing, or not existing, proposed retaining walls along their frontage.
I was kind of hoping that they'd put some grass and trees there along 105 instead of some more concrete.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already desecrated all of our old trees, and now they're just putting more concrete and just a consideration, or we can say no to it, or we make a
recommendation to council.
Okay. And they want to, in the back there, they want to reduce the landscape setback?
From 25 feet to 20 feet.
Okay, so, has it been a couple of months now? We had someone come and speak, and we weren't allowed to really say anything to him, but he mentioned the result of what HEB did, and it's the noise, the trees, the lights. And so now they want to do the same thing, moving beside HEB. They've already got the setback fixed or whatever. Now the next person is asking for another variance, which is going to cause them not to have vegetation to protect the sound, protect from the lights, protect from all that. So, I mean, why didn't they just ask for variance on the whole 32 acres instead of just asking for each little?
That would have been.
Yeah, say, hey, look, we just want to wipe all your trees out, and we're going to put some cement wall up, and, you know, we're going to put some lights out there so all the people can sleep, you know, when HEB is open at 11 o'clock at night. But anyways.
So the barrier on that back side, do they have vegetation?
Not today, they would.
I mean, it is in they are required to plant
Yes, sir.
vegetation on top of that wall.
Yes, so in the event that they continue with the same thought process as HEB, they'll be planting trees and shrubbery along that back, vegetative setback to, again, provide a barrier for the residents in regards to sound, lighting, etc.
But they'll be required to.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Would that retaining wall on the south side be 20 feet off the property line?
Yes, it would not be, or depending upon their layout, we haven't seen it to this point, but generally speaking, I don't believe the HEB ones were within that 20-foot vegetative setback, just outside of it, actually.
So there'll be a wall, and then there'll be vegetation for 20 feet up to the neighboring neighborhood.
Not necessarily 20 feet in width, just within that 20-foot setback. So essentially be a strip, and however thick their trees are, if they plant shrubs and then spacing for the trees, how they end up doing it. But it wouldn't necessarily be 20 feet consistent from boundary to boundary.
And they're asking for that 5 feet.
Reduced from 25 feet, yes ma'am.
And the benefit for doing that back there?
Allowing them to kind of extend or push back their retaining walls on lines better with their paving. Based on their site plan, would be my best guess for that. And again, try to be consistent with their neighbor HEB and what they're doing on their property.
Is this one of those things where they said, yeah, we know we're gonna need it, so we'll just do a variance later? So that's what it's basically saying, it's like, they should know this ahead of time, and I really got an issue with now all these changes. And also going back to 105, where, okay, now it's the city's problem if we ever have to do the lines. It's like, you wanted to buy this property, you wanted to make it, for your business. I don't care if you lose a few feet, you knew that going in. So I'm already, not feeling good about this.
Me too. I'm ready to say no, to vote to these variances. I mean, they got the 32 acres, they got the hill, and I specifically asked them, how many trees you leaving? As many as we can. Can somebody point to me the tree they saved? That is a big old mound of dirt out there. They even took the trees out away from the historical marker, and it makes it look like a little blank little divot on 2854, taken away from our historic town. Like, bring your big box and bring your money and bring your customers, but make it cohesive to what type of town we live in. We're having all these developers come in here, and they're not taking into consideration some of the things that we appreciate here and why we pay what we pay to live here. The taxes we pay, what we pay for our homes. I mean, they knew this before they started asking for variances, so.
So basically, if the 20-foot setback on the south side, on the back side, was denied, they would just have to move those buildings up 5 feet.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I can understand the variance on the front along 105. I mean,
The utility easement, so.
that utility easement on that. I mean, it is what it is for the tie-ins and complications there. But everything, like Marion was saying, everything we've given up so far in a lot of this development, they should be able to eat the 5 foot.
I'm really not liking the frontage either. Like you're already gonna add a lane, you're gonna add a turning lane in there, and then we're gonna have some construction, and they're gonna be digging in there to get lines in and all kinds of stuff, so. I don't really understand, I guess. My frustration is the utility easement. I'm not understanding, maybe the guys up here do because they do construction or whatever, but they knew they were gonna build the buildings. So now they're asking for an easement. Why didn't they just build accordingly before they asked for it?
Not asking to remove the required easement. And to speak to that, I'm not sure at the time of the development, I don't think the developer, at the time of the development that they knew retaining wall would be so needed. And there are a lot of, I believe 7 on HEB site alone. Not understanding the grades and how much dirt that it would be reused or have to be put off site. I don't think they just understood what was going to be required for grading on the site.
And somehow that's our problem. But I don't want to give them a variance. So.
Control procedure could actually be taken on the variances individually.
No. They presented it like this. Are you trying to get the 16-foot minimum for us to say yes and for us to say no to the minimum landscape?
Not necessarily. Just if the vote made it to where one variance were granted and one wasn't. But again, the recommendation to council could be yes, yes, no, no, no.
Okay,
yes.
so recommendation can be split.
Right. That's more what I was asking.
Okay.
We're making a motion or just discussing and just?
Making a formal recommendation to council.
The variance along the road, I mean, with the tie-ins and what they need to do to, I guess, coincide with HEB, I can understand that easement there. The back easement, I think that could be, that's this. That's my opinion.
But it's all because of the grading, and they have to put those walls up, the retaining walls up. So it was miscalculated how much dirt or how much incline or grade there was, and they said, oh, we need retaining walls in order to do what we need to do. And that's why they're saying that 16 foot is for their retaining walls because of the
Not to speak for the developer, but the addition of retaining walls is a viable solution in minimizing dirt being exported and imported into the site. So it sounds like a financial decision on their end, but again, not going to speak for the developer.
Well, I say no to all 3, so y'all can go from there.
Well, we need to, somebody
Make a motion, so whatever motion y'all want to recommend to send to city council.
so let's go ahead and split these.
Yeah, let's go by 3. I'll make a motion to approve the variance, to recommend approval of the variance for 16-foot easement at the north side of the property.
Okay, I have a motion for the approval of the variance for 16-foot easement on the north side of the property. Is that correct? All in favor, say aye.
Oh, you have to have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, so we have
John, which way down?
no,
Yes.
2 no's,
Yes.
3 yeses, okay. So the variance regarding the 16-foot easement on the south side, motion passes 3-2.
Of the 25-foot requirement to be maintained on all commercial properties.
I second that.
Just to be clear, do y'all want to address the one at the front of the property, which is a recommendation or variance go down to 0?
I won't, yes. Do we want to individualize them? 78, 160, oh, 78, 162 has an A and the other one doesn't. I guess we'll separate them.
That's fair.
Section 78, 162A, I say no to the minimum landscape setback, requesting a 20-foot setback in lieu of the 25-foot requirement to maintain on all commercial properties abutting single-family properties.
And I second the denial.
Okay, so this is regarding the south side, correct? Okay. I have a motion and a second to deny request for a variance for the 20-foot setback in lieu of the 25-foot requirement to be maintained on all commercial properties abutting the single-family properties on the south side. So, all in favor of the denial?
The recommendation.
Yeah, recommendation, all the, how can I put this? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Well, meaning the denial, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, of denial, yeah,
Yes.
all in favor of the not denial of the motion, say aye.
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 All opposed to the motion, say no. That motion passes for the denial. Okay, and then the third.
Just vegetative setback.
Yes, and putting a retaining wall in the vegetative setback instead of leaving a vegetative setback.
We're more likely going to have a retaining wall.
But it doesn't have to be within their vegetative area.
Yeah, they can put it,
Right. They can maintain a 25-foot vegetative area and then have a retaining wall.
Right.
That's what our recommendation basically.
So we'll make a motion to
Yeah.
approve the construction of the utilities and retaining walls within vegetative setback.
we're gonna say no, I'm saying no to it. Make a motion to deny the construction of utilities and retaining walls within vegetative setback.
Okay. We have a motion for denial of the utility and retaining wall vegetation setbacks. Requested to allow for construction of retaining walls and install utilities within the required vegetation. So we have a motion to deny. Is there a second? Now what do we do?
Somebody makes a motion to say they want it, and we vote.
Need a motion to.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for utilities and retaining walls to be allowed within the vegetative setback.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of the utility and retaining wall within the vegetation setback. Section 78162. All in favor?
I'll second.
Second, okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the approval of the utility retaining walls and vegetative setback, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Okay. So it passes 4-1. Okay. I need a break.
They didn't even give us any water for that one. We need a long drink of water.
Okay, we're going to number 9. Consideration of possible action by the Planning and Zoning Commission on the final plat for Briarley, formerly known as Redbird Meadows, Kammerer Drive Extension, development number 2006.
Good evening again. So I have 2 items that I have before you. One is for the Kammerer Drive Extension. This is the right-of-way extension that would include a reserve for the recreation center within the Briarley development. This is just approving the final plat of said Kammerer Drive Extension. This would be subject to impact fees as the rec center would be connected to the public utility system. They are subject to impact fees in the amount of $54,248 for wastewater, and then they are receiving a credit for the construction, for their water line impact fee because of the construction of Old Barnesville water line in the amount of $30,543. We are doing a final true-up of those construction costs to date. The project is actually in warranty now, so we'll be able to finalize what the final amount of that credit for the water line impact or water impact fees would be. And we'll be able to tell y'all with every future final and preliminary plat for this development.
So would this be replat when a future building?
No, so if you look on,
I know it has a reserve.
yeah, so there would be no need to replat it. The reserve is dedicated to the recreation center. So as long as the development or subdivision doesn't demo the rec center, then it would be fine.
What is the difference between the last time you told us about this and now? Is it just a little bit more land or a little bit, is it a bigger area or?
So nothing's changed in terms of scope from the preliminary plat that y'all approved a few months ago and this month.
Right.
It's just what's being shown on the plat itself. So again, kind of more administrative than anything. Contour lines not being shown, existing infrastructure within the platted area not being shown. Now it's just what is this intended for and what's the intended use, acreage, lines for the boundary of the platted area, etc. So as far as content goes, there's nothing of substance that has changed.
Is there water lines in there or anything like that, or is it just a green?
Along the frontage, there will be, if you look, 16-foot utility easement and water meter easement for that connection, but everything past the water meter and on the private site would be considered private water line.
I'll make a motion, we approve the final plat for development number 2006.
I'll second.
Okay, we may have a motion this second, approval of the final plat for the development number 2006. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 10, consideration of possible action by the Planning and Zoning Commission on the final plat for Briarley, formerly known as Redbird Meadows, Pond A1, development number 2006.
Again, this is the final plat for the Pond A1 of the development, directly adjacent to the rec center. Would be providing drainage outfall area for the entire development. If you look on the phasing plan shown on page 104, you kind of see how the detention is laid out, with Pond A1 again being directly adjacent to the rec center, and then the subsequent ponds that's downstream of that, downstream of the Pond A1.
Are they used ponds, or will they be like a fence be around it?
Amenity?
Yeah, it's like, will it be a slope down into the pond, like if there was ducks in it or something for them to feed the ducks or walk around it?
So there is a maintenance berm installed on all of these
Okay.
ponds. Whether or not that maintenance berm is used for amenity, it would be up to the developer. In the event that they do request or try to add in amenity features to said detention, they'll have to come back for review.
All right.
I make a motion that we approve the final plat for Pond A1 in development 2006.
A second.
We have a motion and second for the approval of the final plat for number 2006. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 11, consideration of possible action by the Planning and Zoning Commission on a preliminary plat for Superior Properties, development number 2215.
Good evening again. So this is for the Superior Property development that is going on along Lone Star Parkway on that hard corner of Lone Star Parkway and Liberty Street. If you go to page 111, you'll see the general layout of the proposed platted area. If you remember early last year, around spring, we presented development agreement and rezoning application for this development. Currently is being rezoned, or not rezoned, zoned multifamily on the far west side, and then 2 interior tracts being zoned for commercial. Action today is just approving the preliminary plat. They would have to come back for their final plat and meeting all the rules and regulations of the city's Code of Ordinances regarding that. As a reminder, this development would be subject to impact fees in the total amount of $574,550. Subject to change based on final taps, quantity and size, but that is just based off of what we have at this current date.
Total acreage?
Total acreage for the development is approximately 15.5 acres.
This is the property that was, like you said, a year or so ago, that did we split the zoning?
Yes, at that time. And so on this preliminary plat, you'll see the dedicated preserves, R2 being the multifamily that's furthest away from the existing residential along Simonton and Austin, and then 2 closer to Simonton and Austin being the commercial. As a part of that development agreement, they were required to maintain a 25-foot vegetative barrier between the commercial proposed and the existing single family. That's shown here on the plat. And not make a connection to Lawson Street unless required by Montgomery County Fire Marshal based on the top development and needing additional access for emergency vehicles.
Did we research anything about that high school that used to be back in there? And it was going to be historical and they were going to try to find out more information? Did our historical society or anybody touch base on that? It's the Lawson High School, right?
That is, if I remember correctly, what the name that they had. Yes. I've not heard anything about that from the historical society. Yeah, so radio silent after that public hearing.
Yes. I mean, that was one of our discussions when they brought it up to us and how they were going to enter it and how the multifamily would be behind. They were going to do like warehouses or storage units or something like that.
So yeah,
if I don't remember.
We're currently reviewing the civil plans for the multifamily as required again by that development agreement. I believe all of their and the developers representative is here tonight to speak to it a little bit more. But currently, all proposed entrances that we review are along Lone Star Parkway. None are along Lawson Street or Simonton. We have not at this time reviewed any plans for commercial. They are coming at a future date, but we would keep that same thought process. They shouldn't be entering off of Lawson or Simonton.
So how do we handle knowing that there was a high school back in there that quite could be historical? Can we postpone this or talk with someone, or how do we do to make sure that that it's not encroaching on what might be something historical back there?
I
A
would,
little bit more
Yeah.
discussion on it or
I would-
history digging?
I would think that the property or representative of said high school would have to come and request that that be designated as a historical landmark or site.
Yeah, it'd be a designation, so I don't think there would be any restrictions, but they could put a marker just like they've done, some of these other things around the community.
But that, I would imagine, would be on the historical society to request or dictate from the current.
So reach out. So if we say yes to this consideration or whatever, as an individual, I would go to the historical society and see if they have any information on the high school, and to see if there's something, because I think there was a gentleman here who was here and knew about it when we were having that meeting. I just don't want to miss that we do have something historical there, and we put something commercial on top of it. I mean, even if it's just a plat or whatever it is.
I definitely understand the concern. As far as actual items here, unless we were dedicating an easement, which could be done at the final plat, this is the preliminary plat.
Okay.
Again, it's something that the high school historical society would have to provide additional information on. But that could be a conversation if the developer is open to any potential dedication to that. But that would have to be something that we worked out with historical society and the developer and staff as to what would be required for the site.
That can be addressed at the final.
Correct. Or any time in the
Or
future.
any time in the future.
Right.
And I'll research and see what I can find out. Thank you, though.
Of course.
We went through this before about the cemetery. There was a cemetery in one of the developments, and it was found then, after much talk with what historian information we had from historians, was that, this all boils down to who the developer is, the responsibility lies on the developer. If there's a cemetery or something that he has to allow access to, that's the development issue. Now, that's the last we heard from, Cheryl, do you know that lady's name?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What did you
The
say?
lady with the Historical Society, the young lady,
Joy Montgomery?
Joy Montgomery, yeah.
But what we were talking about from the Historical Society had nothing to do, I was just asking, was it T.J. Wilkerson that said that? He's the only, because he's born and raised here, I'm asking.
There was another gentleman and his wife was here.
From the neighborhood.
From the neighborhood.
Yeah, it was, because they had a question whether they owned it or not.
Yeah, they thought they owned it.
Was he Miss Symington's kid?
You don't believe that one?
Who was it?
It was I don't ever remember her name. She drives the blue truck and she gathers junk in Montgomery.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
asking TJ about it.
Okay, sorry.
Arzelia Portley.
I can't remember her name.
Arzelia Portley.
Azalea. or
Yes,
Isaiah.
yes.
Got it.
She would know. And I think it was her husband that stood up and said something.
Regarding superior
Yes, sir.
properties? Got it.
That and also the Lawson High School.
Just so they understand, I am a member of the Historical Society, and I don't remember any discussion about it, but then I don't remember what the breakfast is.
The reason I make mention of it, because there is an issue with a cemetery located inside of one of the developments that's proposed. Now, at that time, we got all the people involved, and it said in these cases where somebody wants to preserve the history, it's the owner, builder's responsibility to allow the people access to the cemetery or any other track part. So,
Do agree. Just,
you could chase those stories about somebody else owning it. I know exactly what she's talking about. I've heard that story forever. It's,
I'm just talking about the high school at this point,
yeah.
not ownership. I'm specifically speaking to the Lawson High School, if indeed that is something that needs to be looked into historically.
yeah. Today, just to clarify, we haven't received any additional information regarding the high school or any other historical landmarks on this particular site.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of the preliminary plat for Superior Properties Development number 2215.
And I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the preliminary plat for Superior Properties Development 2215. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12.
Yeah. Thank you for putting up with us.
Discuss a proposal to add 30-minute session be scheduled during the next Planning and Zoning Commission to review and clarify the commission's purpose, membership, structure, terms of service, duties, and powers as outlined in the Code of Ordinances.
Good evening, Commission members. Chairman Simpson and I had a short meeting, a couple of weeks ago, and we wanted to revisit and maybe clarify, re-review what the ordinance states as the duties, responsibilities of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd also like to be able to ask the attorneys to be present just to make sure that we're within the legal requirements for the P&Z. I did draft a hopefully quick agenda for that 30 minutes. I don't know if we can cover P&Z in 30 minutes. Maybe we might have to do another 30 minutes after that. But maybe just do a quick overview, maybe the legal framework of the commission, what the structure is for the membership, your terms of service, the duties and powers that's given to you, whether it's by state statute or city ordinance, comprehensive plan. That's going to be a big discussion soon because we're under the 2020 comprehensive plan, 2026 now. It might be something that we might have to revisit fairly. And then talk about some of the zoning and subdivision basics, kind of covering like what Zach was talking about here with the preliminary plat, the final plats, a development plat, replat, and what we would be looking at as the commission, or what you as the commission would be looking at. And also, maybe we'll cover this with City Secretary Bevins, talking about the Ethics, Conflicts of Interest, Open Meetings Act. I assume that we're probably all up to date, because I think we tried to do that earlier. And maybe even do a couple of case studies. Not anything that we can vote on or anything like that, but just use as an example of some development issues that we've come across, rezoning, special use permits, that kind of thing, and to be able to cover that. Like I said, I was hoping that we could cover it in 30 minutes, but as I was writing the agenda, it just kind of got out of hand.
Yeah.
But if we want to start with next month, maybe if we have a short agenda, that we could add 30 minutes at the end of the agenda just to cover a few things.
Will you please do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
Will you get the mayor involved in that? Now, we've got a new administrator here that hasn't been involved. He's new here, just getting involved. But we're going about the approval process. I've went over everything with her. I've outlined, after 47 years in a development business, how to get these approvals, how to do different things. Here we are, we're approving flats over here that we've never seen a drainage map. We've never seen a drainage map. We're sitting up here blindfolded approving this stuff, and it's just, it's not right. We're not looking at it correctly. There's procedurally, there's got to be something done different than just fly by your seat of your pants every time we approve these things.
Well, just like what Zach had mentioned, we're going through the subdivision ordinance, we're going through the zoning ordinance. Procedures could be written in those ordinances.
And we have done that over. We've been writing it. We've been doing that for 5 years. We need to get it done.
Yes, and we do agree with you that right now we have the interim ordinance. We're tweaking the interim ordinance, And then we'll be moving over to the UDO, which will encompass the subdivision ordinance, the zoning ordinance, sign ordinance, and I believe floodplain is also in there. So the whole UDO will encompass everything that we have divided now in these separate ordinances. Hopefully make it more readable, hopefully make it more procedurally easier to administer. That's what we're
And one thing I would like to add is that just like mentioning the special use permits on the drive-through, you know, it just brings to mind this, what I see is happening is we're sitting up here trying to do our job, and then city council gets up here and reverses half of how we rule on things. Totally disregard what we said. And, you know, I know damn near everybody up here, and I don't know anybody that knows any more about it than the group that's up here. They're overruling us, and it's very aggravating. You know, if we make a ruling about something, you got to be able to explain to us why you can't see what we're trying to do. I think the problem is, it gets back to, I'll get off my stool in a minute. You know, we've got too many. The problem we have as city council is 2-year terms. We got people coming and going constantly, and it's a learning process for everybody. And in 2 years, no one is learning. Follow it? I rest my case.
well, and the comprehensive plan is the city's floor plan. It's the city's game plan. It's what we should be moving towards every time. It has the 5-year plan in there, the 10-year plan, the 20-year plan.
And that needs to be here when we're making these decisions,
Yes,
like these setbacks and vegetations and widening the driveways and reducing the driveways and the width of the streets. And we need to have the whole cohesive vision of what we want Montgomery to be. Right now it's just, here, just spit on it and wad it up and throw it and see if it hits the wall.
Well, and that's why we'll go back to using the comprehensive plan. Even though it's very old right now, it is what we have.
Yeah.
And it's what we base our zoning on. So if we want to bring that back up, I could share the comprehensive plan with you. We can talk about it. It's a difficult read because I've been with other cities before, and comprehensive plans don't really read in that format. So we can look at it and try to see the feel of where the city's going, take a look at the zoning map, what we have now. I don't think we have that new zoning map available to us yet that KKC was proposing. But we should. We need to get you back on board.
It's time.
Yes.
Like, I know I've been sitting here long enough to see something, but we've been talking about it. We've gone to meetings about it, and we've had lots of people come in and show us pictures, but we're still.
Well, we need to get back on board with it. We need to see where KKC is at. I know it's been a while where KKC is at with the UDO. We're just getting caught up with it too, where we were kind of surprised to see, 20 new zoning districts that we weren't aware of. So it's definitely something that I think you all need to be.
The comprehensive plan so far to date works. You got everybody, the developers, the people come in here who want to be a part of the community, they have an idea. And the city council goes jack batty, let them come in and disregard comprehensive plans. Anything that's been said or planned is, oh, forget that. Somebody's got some dollars, go chase them.
But if it helps, when I write my report to you as a staff person, I make a recommendation. You don't always go with my recommendation, but I feel good about my recommendation. Now, when you reverse that recommendation, then you would only hope that the recommendation that you have is supported by something else that you might have seen in the comprehensive plan. so that when now you recommend it to city council, you should feel good about your recommendation, because again, you went on the basis of the plan hereby. And if city council reverses it, well, they reverse it. But
You can see how frustrating that is though, right?
yes, I understand.
But I think once we get the new ordinances where everybody's on the not dealing 5 years ago and get that straight, then there, if something is agreed or not agreed in a certain ordinance, then if somebody does go the other way, then we do have, you know, something to go back on to say why.
Absolutely.
But we can't do it on 5-year-old rules.
Something as small as those drive-throughs, you know, she's the one that got to go through it over and over and over again. It's like,
Well, that was probably made back when, like was said, back, I don't know how many years ago, though, that ordinance is, when the city didn't want fast food drive-through, you know, clogging up 105. Well, you know, now we're in 2026 and it's a whole, you know, if we don't do something, we're gonna have 5 different special use permits on all the restaurants over, you know, down by HEB, so. It's just all, I think, it's, the city is trying to catch up, it's just a matter of getting everything implemented, I believe.
It's going back to basics and starting with our comprehensive plan. And then we'll bolster our
and to get those
definitions.
rules and ordinances codified like they're supposed to be, instead of, you know, we find out later, we pass some rule or law that we can't even enforce because it's not been codified.
Tilly caught mine. She goes, "You passed that, Marion." You said yes to it. I went, "Dadgummit." Like, yeah, that was a long time ago, right? And she showed it to me. I was like, oh, I make a motion.
Consider.
Are we discussing it? Or are we saying yes?
It was a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah,
To
but we
consider
need,
it, and then
but
we'll
is
just-
everybody in
I'll just
agreement for
add it to
next,
the agenda.
We like it.
next week or next month?
Next month.
Okay.
Is it like out in the open like now being recorded or, okay?
But there'll be nothing to vote on,
Just
it'll just be a discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion to adjourn January 6, 2026 P&Z meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
That's another thing too.
Zach, you kill a lot of
Verbiage
trees.
we need to say, like we disagree with.
You got 2 copies.
We hardly ever disagree, you know what I mean? Or
Arlen Samuelson.
so there's no knowledge needs coming out of your mouth. Needs to be-